Welcome, welcome, welcome to a brand new episode of Wind Down with Kev. I am so excited about being here today. Before I jump in, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to other episodes of Wind Down with Kev. I want to thank all of you for watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Most importantly, I want to thank you for clicking that subscribe button, that notification button, and following all of these amazing conversations that we've been having with amazing people. Today is no different. Today is extra special. I have an extra special friend here that I cannot wait to introduce to all of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, without further delay, my friend, my sister, my fellow Allstate agent, Mrs. Michele Coley. Michele, talk to the people. How you doing today?
I'm great, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to have this opportunity to podcast with you. You're one of the only people I know that's busier than me, so this is not easy to pull off.
I will agree with that. It's been a long day, but I tell you what, I'm excited to be here. I love to have good conversation, and you and I always can get it going.
Absolutely. So our normal talk time, you're a morning person like me. You're walking at 7 o'clock in the morning. And once we connected, we decided that was a good time for us to talk. There's no phone, no computer, no distraction. So how is that going? Are you sticking to that routine? Are you still walking every morning?
I don't walk every morning because sometimes the weather during this time of year, because I'm in Alabama, it can get really, you guys know because y'all have really bad weather where you are. But in Alabama, the weather is cold, hot, rainy. It could be a combination of things. So you can't be as consistent. So I'm eating right now. I cook every day, all day. And so we eat right.
So help me to understand. I struggle with that. I think of the South. I think it's hot everywhere all the time. What is cold in Alabama?
We get to 32. We'll get to 32, but it'll also go to 64 that next in the midday. So they always say, they say if you don't like the weather in Alabama, just wait a minute, it'll change.
It'll change. Okay, my New York audience can't connect to that. As I speak to you today, we had 5 inches of snow on yesterday. It did get warm today. Some of it got shoveled away, but it's still out there. But let's talk about your morning routine. You're an early bird. You're up. You're walking.
Absolutely.
How important is that time in the morning just to set your mind for the rest of the day?
It is so valuable to me. I usually wake up about 4 a.m. And so during that time, I'm usually going to read something to get my day started or listen to something on Audible. My new thing, I'm into cooking. And so, I usually cook meals and stuff. I make TikTok videos of my cooking. It's called Cooking with Rich Auntie.
I like that. I like that. And I saw that you had the nieces and nephews, and I like that label, Rich Auntie. Is that what they call you?
Right. They think of me as Rich Auntie. Anytime anybody needs something, they know they can call me and I will give it to them. I don't have grandchildren at this time, but they're the closest thing that I have to grandchildren. So I spoil my niece and my nephews. So that's my big thing. So my marker on TikTok is Cooking with Rich Auntie. And so, but I wake up in the morning and I usually fix breakfast for my husband and I, because we are both in our 50s now. Yes. And so when you reach that threshold, you can exercise and walk all you want, but if you're not putting the right things in your body, then that's going to cause some problems down the road. And I told my husband, we've been married 30 years. I told him, I said, hey, I'd rather cook for you now than to have to change diapers later.
Hey, that's the realest talk in the world. I'll make you laugh and I'll tell the truth. Literally, Michele, you met my son, my oldest, Kevin. He came to the growth conference in Dallas with us. Literally Sunday, I called him to do some meal prep for me. Mm-hmm. The reason being, last week I was in Cancun and playing with grandchildren, which I'm blessed to have 3 of them now. I tapped my wife take some pictures in the water because I wanted to keep this moment. But right. I didn't recognize my stomach in that water. So I became really conscious about my gut health just this week. And I said, I don't know who you are, where you came from, but you can't stay.
You can't stay. So what I do is I prep for us. I cook breakfast for us. So I cook all of our meals. We eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner that I prepare. And so I usually do some type of salad for our lunch. And then I cook dinner. And then sometimes we have whatever leftovers from dinner. We have it for lunch the next day. And that's also something I do for my team. If I cook something that I know they're going to like, they love my turkey meatloaf. They love my chicken salad. So if I make that, I fix that for them and I bring it in. That's that Southern hospitality.
I love that. I never had turkey meatloaf. You have my attention. So I want to just shout out and acknowledge and thank you, your husband. One of the things I love about you guys work together. You're not just married 30 years. You work together as a unit. What is that like working with your husband?
Oh, I love it. It was I had started my Allstate agency in 2018. And so for about 4 years I ran it by myself. He's always been a partner. Like he's been my partner in the business. We have the company GMJ Enterprises. So he's been a partner in that, but he didn't work in the business every day. I was the one that was working because I'm the exclusive agent. So we got to 4 years and I just things that started getting heavy. I had a second location. I was going back and forth between the locations. I had everything on me. I had up to probably 10 employees at the time, and I was
Ooh,
working hard. And
yes.
I called him one day crying. We came home and I told him, I said, hey, I said, I need help. And he was complaining about his job because at the time he was in IT. And he was complaining, he would come home and complain. And I didn't want to hear it because I'm fighting for my life. And I'm thinking to myself, you're complaining about a job when we own a business? What are you talking about? And so
Yes.
I told him I need him to come. I said, either you come or I'm going to have to hire an operations manager. So you let me know what you can do. And so he came into the business. And at first, I have to be honest, it was a little rocky. And this is how I describe it, Kevin. It's like being a single parent and I got married and he came in and wanted to be over my kids.
Wait a minute. You can't talk to them like that.
It was. I was like, you can't talk to my employees like that. These are my workers. You can't talk to them. And he come to me. He's like, they act like they can't do anything I say do unless you say okay. I said, and it should be like that.
Oh no, no,
So,
no,
but
no.
once we got to our lanes are, I can do everything, but service is not my favorite thing. My cup of tea is sales. I'm a sales master, sales, uh, that's my wheelhouse. I'm a sales manager. I've had major success in that arena, and service is just not quite what I like to do. He is a service master. He is excellent. So I said, hey, that's your lane. You be completely in charge of that. You got full autonomy. Do what you think should be done. And he
Yes.
has taken that over, and that is how we do it. He handles the front end of the house. I handle the back end, and it has worked perfectly.
Well, that's beautiful. That's what a marriage is, right? You and I both got married young. It doesn't come with instructions. We have to find your roles, set up some goals, and just figure it out as you go along. And y'all are doing a
Well,
beautiful job.
I will say this, the funny part about it, because we've been married so long, in our marriage and at the house, I'm more submissive, and meaning like he's the head of the house, and I don't he whatever he says, pretty much I'm just like, okay, that's cool, because we've been through a lot together, and so I trust him, he trusts me, so I'm very laid back at the house, and whatever he says, or he just kind of takes care of me. Okay, so when we come to the office, it's a quite different relationship because I'm not like
Role
that at the house.
reversal.
Right,
Role
I'm not.
reversal.
And so what happened was he was coming in being my husband in the office, but in the office I'm not his wife. And so I had to
Right.
let him know that I'm the agency owner, and so you have to treat me as such. So when I say something, you can't act like, oh, this is my wife talking and it's no, it's debatable or whatever, because it's not. It's. And so once we got that established, and that was hard because I had to think about it. I'm a thinker. So I had to think about, oh, that's what's going on. He's treating me like his wife. Because, see, and the way I figured it out was so funny. We were coming out the building one day and I did my sweep. I turned off all the lights. I locked the door and I was coming out. Well, he went behind me and was checking and doing and changed what I had done. I was like, wait a minute. And I said, oh, because at the house, I don't lock not one door or check any.
Right, right, right. Now,
So,
Michelle, I can understand. You're gonna make me share a story I've never shared on a podcast before. But early in my career, my wife worked with me for me. She was my admin assistant. She built up my office as a manager. But our spouses know our strengths and weaknesses, and when we're
mhm.
in our weaknesses, and they're coming from a position of strength, it's like, no, not now. I have to stay in this mindset. I'll play my role at home, but here it's a little bit different, but it's a beautiful thing to navigate through and to partner through this process because it's not easy. So, one of
Oh,
the
he's
things that
taking a lot of stress off of me, a lot of stress.
is beautiful, and to have someone in the office that's just like a marriage that's going in the same direction as you, that's a beautiful thing. So, Michelle, I want to bring up one of the funny conversations we had offline. You referred to yourself as a helicopter mom.
Yes, indeed. I have one son, and he was born on my birthday, and I love him dearly. And I'm a no nonsense kind of person. I can handle a ton of things. I am a businesswoman, very strong. Most people consider me very strong, very dominant. when it comes to that person, my son, that is my Achilles heel. Most things I am excellent at, most things I accomplish. But when it comes to my son, I feel like I am the worst parent ever because it's just like I try to do everything for him. I smooth it out. He took a trip recently and I've been up all just waiting and just, I want to text him and he's, visiting a friend and I'm just having a fit about it. And I thought to myself, this is crazy. I gave him a credit card. I said, hey, take this credit card with you because I'm thinking if something happens, I know this card works and it can
Right.
make magic happen. And he's grown. I'm not even gonna tell you how old he is, Kevin.
We'll leave that private. We'll leave that
ashamed.
private. But it's all right. There's nothing.
But I'll say this:
wrong.
he's good and grown. He's good and grown.
I love it. I love both, and nothing wrong. This is our gift. If that requires you to carry your heart on your sleeve, then wear your heart on your sleeve.
I call him my heart walking around outside of my body. I think most parents feel that way. I realized we had a problem when in third grade he won a contest. And I felt a sense of pride and proudness that I have never felt since then for myself. I've never felt that proud because it was like, I said, oh my goodness. So that means if something happens to this person, it affects me more than if it happened to myself. Yes. That's crazy.
Yes. We want our children to be better than we were. We want to be a better version. And certainly I can relate and connect to that. But Michele, before we dive into insurance, I want to talk about your journey to Allstate. One of the things we shared, but we haven't talked about a lot, is you had a career in radio.
Absolutely. When I was in high school, I was in a performing arts school, and a part of the performing arts school was mass media. And so I actually started radio when I was 16 years old, and I could, right, in high school. So I was a part of a morning show. So before my senior year, before I went into school for my senior year, I was on the radio. And so everybody would hear me. All my friends would listen to the radio at the time. It's the number one radio station in town. I did the birthdays and I was one of the co-hosts. And so I did that my senior year. And then when I went off to college, I came to the college town where I live now, Tuscaloosa. And I was on the radio, and it was just my goal. I thought I was going to be the next Oprah Winfrey. She was going to give me her show when she retired. When she had a big 25-year show, I was supposed to be there, and she turned it over to me.
I love the plan. I love the plan.
So I did radio for about 20 plus years.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice. What took you out of radio into insurance?
It's so weird. Parallel to my career in radio was sales. So when I was doing radio, sometimes I would work another job and I would I've sold vacuum cleaners, I've sold used cars, I've sold new cars, I've sold radio advertising. And so I've always had this knack for sales. It started when I remember being in elementary school and I wanted a phone for my room. And you could sell Christmas cards in the summer. This is when kids could go door to door. And I went door to door on my own, sold a bunch of cards and got that phone. And so I just had a knack for doing it. So I remember a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, they were working for Liberty National at the time. And it was a life insurance company where you could go door to door. I think it's Globe Life now. And he said, you can do it part-time. So I said, okay, took the test. He said, you're smart, you'll pass the test. I passed the test and I started selling life insurance part-time. And then, radio has these times where they'll lay people off or they'll go in a different direction. And that happened. I could have stayed, but I wouldn't have been making the same amount of money. So I was like, okay. And I had started making pretty good money with life insurance. Nice. And so I asked them, I said, well, what would I need to do to be a manager? And they told me, and I did it. And I became a manager and was really good at building teams and working. It was 100% commission. I mean, weekly. Monday, I started at zero. And I can proudly say I never missed a check. Never missed a check.
I love it. I love it. Life insurance sales. I love life insurance, but selling life insurance is not easy. People act as if there's another exit, another way out of here. What made you so good at closing life insurance and not missing a check?
Because I had to have a check. And so I like to eat. Well, I am a very determined person. And so I'm a goal-oriented person. So I didn't look at it as selling life insurance. I looked at it as relationship building. And so I'm really good at building relationships. I'm really good at reading people. I'm really good at getting people to do the thing. I'm really good at finding out what the need is and fulfilling the need. And with life insurance, it's just a matter of sitting down. We had a presentation. We had a way of doing it. And it was like it got to the point where it's like the Matrix for me. I could knock on the door and could tell if I was going to have a sale by the way they answered the door, because I did so many presentations, so many reps of it, so many times I did it. And so I just knew if I knocked on the door and they answered and received me a certain way, then I was going to most likely have a sale at that house. And I could tell when I didn't have a sale. That's when I knew I was ready to go into sales management, because it got to a point where it's almost like I wouldn't even complete the process because I already knew. And you can't be like that. You got to complete the process.
Yeah,
And
you
so
got
I
to do
started
this.
training. I
No, go ahead. I'm
started
listening.
training
Go ahead.
other people. I started training other people. And that's another thing. I never missed a check. And I was a sales manager having to train other people to make my check. So, and they were 100% commission. So,
No,
yeah.
I love your journey. I know life insurance selling is not easy, but when you think about it, someone just shaped my thinking a little bit differently about a week ago, and they said we're not in sales, we're in the service business. We
Sure.
provide a service that changes, where our products change the quality of people's lives. So, in that life insurance journey, I'm sure you changed some people's lives because they took that policy from
And the way I look at it is that everybody needs it, okay? But you have to make them understand why they need it. And you have to be able, like you can tell, I used to tease husbands. And I would say, well, how soon after you pass do you want your wife to get married?
you. Ooh,
And they go, what do you mean? I said, the bigger the check, the longer she'll have a shrine to you. I
yes.
said, if you don't leave her any money, your best friend's gonna be her new man.
Ooh, oh, that's a
And
close. That's a cold close.
oh, they would laugh. Oh, they would laugh, and we would laugh about it. But that's what I told him. I said, no one has ever said you left me too much life insurance money. No one's ever told me, you know what, that's way too much money, I'm gonna give some of that back. It's because whatever you leave for your family is the amount of love you have for them. And so I got really good at it, and we were able to change lives. We were able to change lives in a couple of ways. I was able to show some people, young people in the business, how to make money, how to be consistent. And it's so funny, a lot of people that worked with me when I was at Liberty National doing life insurance are now part of my agency here with Allstate.
I love it. And that's a beautiful thing because you took them across the bridge from life insurance only to now coming to Allstate and being able to offer all personal lines insurance, and really not just get the life insurance check, but to focus on helping people with all of their American dreams, all the things they have to work so hard to protect: their cars, their houses, their apartments, and everything else.
It was so funny. Coming to Allstate was like a breeze. It was like I got 30 days to make a check. Oh my goodness, get out of 30. When you're used to doing it in a week, it's a big difference between a week and a month. And so we got here and I brought my crew with me and we were looking at it. I was like, this is what we got to do. And I was like, oh, we got this. And it was so funny. We had a lot of success, and I really have enjoyed my tenure here at Allstate. It's life changing. People talk about generational wealth. I think I have changed the trajectory of my family tree in terms of my husband and my family, my son, and how we move and operate. It's totally different than what we were doing. Radio, I loved it, but it doesn't pay the bills that well.
But you're famous though. You locally famous. It feels good, but it doesn't pay as well. I
I'm just as
love this.
famous as an Allstate agent.
I tell you what, that's one of my things. I believe all of us, every Allstate agent, every insurance agent, not limited to Allstate in the country, that we can be local heroes in our community. So let's talk about community. That's just something else we have in common. When I follow you on social media and people watching this, please follow Michele on social media. I know you fall in love with her already just by her conversation, her confidence, and her background, but please follow her. You're all about community. I was looking at something before. This is my podcast prep. I always look at what people are posting about because that's all that I ask about. And you're doing stuff with Tuscaloosa Tech. You're doing stuff with women. You got stuff going on for Women History Month. Tell me some of the other things that you do in the community that I may not know about.
So last year, I was the chair of the West Alabama Chamber, and that was a big deal. And it was like it's like a first job in my all stage. It became my second job, but
Yes.
I enjoyed that tremendously. Being a part of when I first started my Allstate agency, I had a chance to look at different associations and organizations to decide which one I was going to get involved in. And so I said I only had time for one because I'm going to run a business and have time for one. So I joined the chamber. But through that, it put me in so many different places in the community. I'm on the mayor's advisory board. I'm on the personnel board for the city of Tuscaloosa. I'm on the zoning board of adjustments. I'm the chair, vice chair of that. Just different places, the Economic Development Authority, Tuscaloosa EDA, just all these different places that are about business. Because I really found out my interests lie in business, entrepreneurship, and helping people of color, women, young people make strides in those areas. When you become a business owner and Allstate agent, you become a business owner, you have employees, so you have a different a knowledge base, not base of knowledge that you can share with you. You become a subject matter expert. So a lot of people started coming to me, asking me questions about how to do. And so I realized I had a bigger voice in the community and had more clout to it than I realized.
Yes.
When I said something, or me being in places, because I have a belief, wherever I am, I bring other people. Whatever level I'm on, I bring other people to that
Yes.
same level. And I encourage other people. So it's like a chain now. And as I look over my 6 years of being an Allstate agent and being in the community, I can see where I have influence. I can see where I have brought others in. Now they're thriving. I can see, I had a billboard. And at that time, not a lot of people of color had billboards. And my billboard is on the main thoroughfare. And
Okay.
little kids come up to me and they're like, "That's the billboard lady." People will see
Yes.
me in the grocery store. "That's the billboard lady." And I laugh. And then I started seeing other people of color, other women put up billboards and have billboards where, in insurance, that's a common thing to have a billboard.
Yes. Yes. At
But
least in the
it
South.
was, yes, it was not common for people of color to have and women to have billboards. And so that was a big deal. And so I give to schools because I believe in children. Children are our future.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm always in a school, and I personally go and hand out cupcakes and juice. And it's so funny because for all the things that I do in the community, those little kids don't know anything about that. "May I have another cupcake?" "Yes, you can. Give me some sugar." And they'll give
Yeah.
me a little hug and some sugar. And that's where I get the biggest joy. Because if they see me doing that, when they get older, they'll know that they need to go back to schools. They'll remember that lady used to come in and help us and do for us. And so that's what I encourage everybody to get involved. You do make a difference. You'll be so surprised. Just the little engagement that you have will cause other people to want to do the same.
No, it's a beautiful thing. And you are a woman of color. One of our first conversations you shared with me that you were the only woman of color representing us in Alabama. How has that journey been?
It was rough in the beginning. So when I started, I tell people I'm always the first and or only. Even going to school as a little kid, first and or only. And meaning that I was either the first to do it or I'm the first and only to do it. And so I was the first woman of color to chair the chamber. And so there have been other women of color to have an agency in Alabama, but at the time that I'm doing it now, there isn't. And so when I walk into a meeting and they're all men and they're all white men, no reflection, is just that's what the business was about. Then there were a few women sprinkled in. And so I developed a system. I go to the front of the room. I sit in the front, everybody's to my back, so that I don't have to be faced with, no one wanting to sit with me or talk to me. Not that they're being mean or anything. People just naturally gather to people that they know. And if they don't know you, they don't, so you have to make a lot of effort to get in. But what I learned, numbers speak.
Yes.
And when you're number one on the list, people will figure out how to talk to you then.
Yes.
And so that's what I do is I make sure that I'm a winner and I am at the top. And I started that when I was in elementary school. I got straight A's and B's because I knew I learned early on that when I had straight A's and B's, people treated me differently. I was able to do more. I was exposed to more. And so I just carried that same, I'm from the South. So I carried
Yes.
that same mentality. Racism does exist. Absolutely it does. But you don't have to be a victim of it. That's ignorance. And you don't have to succumb to ignorance. And the way you overcome ignorance is with knowledge and success and achievement. And so that's what I say to anybody. And that's my claim to fame. Others may do it differently, but the way I combat it is my success. And I don't take a backseat to anybody. And I try to help. I always tell people I operate with an open hand, that I can receive and I can give. And so that philosophy has gotten me far. And so when I go into those rooms, I'm the first and only. I'm trying to bring other people in with me. And that's how we started the Growth Conference.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What you're saying, I want to give credit where it's due, but I believe it's Shonda Rhimes. She said first, only, and different. A lot of times on my podcast, people say, Kevin, how do you choose your guests? I like people that are first, only, and different. People that are doing something different, that when people view the podcast, they get inspired. And you're saying so much that's so inspirational. I just want to let you go. I don't want to interrupt and miss a beat. I don't want to miss anything at all. So you just get to Allstate in 2018. You and I meet in probably 2021, and you're already on the National Advisory Board. And I see you in a meeting on one of our Zoom meetings. I'm like, wow, she's doing it. We connected, we became friends. How did you escalate so quickly to get to the top and serve at the highest level in the company?
So a couple of things. You have to have success. So I came in on a contract that Allstate was offering that was a very lucrative contract. And I came in hitting the ground running, because you got to remember, I came from, on Mondays, I started at zero. So the numbers that Allstate was asking me to hit were not, I did not find them to be difficult. And I was making a lot of money doing it. I'm talking more money I ever made. I was like, is this legal? Is this possible? So I just, they got, and I had my own business. It really, I just took advantage of the whole opportunity. And so one of my talents is my speaking ability. And I know that if you ask people, you have to volunteer. When you work for a company, and I tell anybody this, so Allstate is a partner of ours. I am my own business owner, but I look at them as my partner. So there are things and initiatives that they're trying to push, and things that they want to happen, in ways they want things to show up for their company. Well, for my company, I'm a partner of theirs. And so I lend my services to them. So I would always, I had a manager at that time, and I emailed him. I said, hey, I see you guys are having a recruiting fair. I'd love to speak at the recruiting fair. And he was like, oh, okay. I could tell he kind of was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. So somebody couldn't come at the last minute, and they asked me, could I come? It was in about 45 minutes away. I said, absolutely. Because I know once you hear me speak, it's over. I'm in the mix.
That's it.
So I went and I blew it out the water. And from that point on, they would call me to come and do recruiting seminars. And I started getting to know different people. From all the sales leaders would be there. I would get to know them, got to know the recruiter. I'm an excellent networker. Whoever the top person is, I'm in their face. If they're in town, they're going to know me, and I'm going to be in their face talking. Because in my mind, that's what matters, is making sure that they know me. I know all the people around me. I'm going to get people's phone number. I'm going to connect. And I remember when I first started, I would call people, and I would like, hey, can I get 2 minutes of your time? Just 2 minutes. That's all I got. Okay, great. And I'd be ready. And I'm always ready with what I need or want. Okay. So once I find out how things work, I ask questions. How do you get here? How do you get there? So I was on the, you remember when they had this territories, the states?
Sure.
So I was on the state board. So I got into leadership there, because I would do whatever my sales leader needed. Leaders have goals they have to hit. They need to shine with the company. So I help make them shine. So then in turn, they put me in the places that I want to be. And so I was on the leadership team for the state. I could never say enough about when we had London Bradley, and we had DMAC. When those two brothers were in leadership, they put me on. I got close with them. They made sure I was front and center. And so I got FaceTime with different people. I won a lot of trips, and I went on all the trips. And when I had a chance to talk with leadership, I would go and I'd talk to them. And so when I found out how you get on the NAB, you had to be the chair of the District Growth Council. I text my leadership and said, hey, if this comes up, I would love to have the opportunity to participate. No problem. And next thing you know, you have to ask, you can't sit back and wait for people to invite you. Sometimes you have to let them know you're interested. It's like dating. It's like dating. You got to let a guy know, when he keeps talking, I'm interested. I'm smiling. Every time you come around, I'm smiling, So when you think of me, you're like, she's nice.
Right. Michele, that's beautiful. When I listen to you describe your community model, your networking models, like I'm listening to myself, but I'm just letting you go, because this is what people don't think about utilizing the platform, the stage of representing a Fortune 500 company, a Fortune 30 company, and speaking on their behalf, but in your way. So let me ask you a question. A lot of people think that insurance is boring. And with all that you're doing, have you ever found insurance to be boring?
No, anytime something is boring, it is how you're looking at it and how you're perceiving it. I own a business. I'm a business owner and I have employees, and it has afforded me the lifestyle I want, and it's afforded me the position in the community that I want. So it's the vehicle that I use. Insurance is important. Everybody needs it. And so you can't get bogged down in pricing and that. Only thing see, I like hitting goals and I like closing sales. So for me, it's never boring. It's just it's very challenging and it's very rewarding. So that's how I look at it. If it's boring, then sales might not be for you, because to me,
Yes.
it's sales, and it's the excitement, and it's the getting, like, I even like fighting for my customers. If the client claims is saying no to something, I get on the phone. Wait a minute. This is my customer. I'm fighting. I win. I'm like, high five. Like, I won that. So to me, every day is different. I have not regretted one day having this relationship that I have with the organization. Is it challenging? Heck yes, it's challenging.
Yes.
But if I'm gonna struggle and have challenges and face drama, I'd rather for it to be in my own house than renting from somebody else.
I love it. That is well said. Do you think insurance is a good career for other women?
Absolutely. I think it also depends on where you are in your life. Each woman has to make the decision for herself, because if you're raising a family, it can be demanding. It can be demanding. And a lot of people think about work life balance. And I subscribe to the idea that there is no work life balance, and
Yes.
that it
Yes.
is the area that needs you the most at the time is where you give the most. So if you've got young children that need you, you may need to focus there more than you can focus in your business. So you have to think about that. This is a demanding career, and to be truly successful at it, it's going to take a lot of your time and energy. So you have to make the decision, is that what you want to do? But you as a woman can do it all. I have some sisters in this business that are doing, and I'm like, girl, how are you doing all of this? But
Yes.
they're making it work. But you have to be disciplined. You have to know that when you work for yourself, there is no cutoff time. There is no, I can't, and what, you've got to make it happen. So it is demanding, but it's very rewarding.
I love it. I love everything that you said. And I think back to the beginning of the conversation, how you started in life insurance part time. That's one of my things. Agree or disagree? Insurance, if someone's not ready to be a full agency owner, but they want to get into the field, do you think it's a good idea for someone to get a license and put one toe in the water to start learning how to do it and build up their salesmanship and to build up their insurance knowledge before they jump all the way in?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. When I worked part time, I was in radio, so I would get off at 1 o'clock every day. So my part time, I had consistent time in the evening. So I had
Yes.
the hours to put in. So it was part time, but I could put in the time. And so you've got to be able to be consistent, because there's a follow up system. There's things to really get yourself going. It's like a funnel, and you've got to start pouring into the funnel so things can come out. And so if you're hitting and missing it, it can make it difficult. So I would say you have to be a disciplined person. I would
Yes.
say that you have to really want it to do it part-time. And when I say part-time, you got to have some set time. Like, you're coming in from 5 in the evening until about 8, and you're doing it maybe 3 to 4 days a week, and you're being consistent. But to just on Monday and then next week, and
No.
you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be frustrating, because you got to have so many at bats,
Yes.
and friends and family. You're going to run out of friends and family. You got to be able to
Yes.
to generate. I like to teach people how to feed themselves, how to self-source business, because I can give you leads, but if you learn how to self-source that business, you will be able to write all the time, and you can really write your own ticket. Self-source means that you're able to go out and generate customers for yourself. You're at the grocery store, you tell somebody you sell insurance, you ask them who do they have their auto insurance with, you get their name and number. Hey, I'm gonna call you. That's self-sourcing.
I love that you took the time to define it, because everybody is a prospect in insurance. Everybody with the car, everybody that lives indoors, they are a prospect. And when you add that self-sourcing to all the networking and the giving back, you're constantly in front of people. You have billboards. So I have found, by running my agency with the same model, when I'm out socializing, I no longer have to ask. People see me and they associate the insurance, like, you know what, Kev, I meant to ask you. You know what, Michelle? I was thinking about you and this just happened, so I'm going to give you a call. And it's a beautiful thing. So I love the honesty of your answer. This is not easy. It's not for everybody. You know that I'm actively working on bringing more people into this industry. So I like to ask the question because I want people to have more perspectives than mine. So we've talked about your journey. I've asked you about women. What about people of color? We're 12% of the population, African Americans in particular, Hispanics, the exact same thing, 12 to 13% of the population. Do you think this is a good field for people to get in like early when they're young, but also maybe a career changer that gets in a little bit later?
Absolutely. But one thing I will stress to you, you're going to be your own business owner. You're going to be your own boss, self-employed. That means that you can't blame the company for what they're doing for their business. You have to think about your business and how do you partner with them, and you have to make it happen. Period. So if you want to make a career change, you want to have generational wealth, you want to do something different with yourself, this is the opportunity for you to be your own boss. But you have got to be a self-starter. You can't wait for somebody to motivate you. If you're one of those people, and I tell people, everybody can't be a business owner. Some people
No,
are workers, and there's nothing wrong with being just a worker. Nothing at all.
not at
Somebody's
all.
got to do this. Nothing wrong with that. And so we have this thing that's going on now where people are like, oh, you should have a business. You have to have business. You should have a business. And folks almost are feeling pressure that they should have a business. No,
No,
you don't have to.
no.
What, 1 to 2% of the population are small business owners?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's 98% of people that's not business owners.
And
So
there's nothing wrong with that. I don't subscribe to that influencer theory that everybody has to own and operate a business. W-2s make the world go around. Somebody has to do work. And for me, I'll tell anybody, I see work as exchanging time for money. So it doesn't matter
absolutely.
whether I'm working in the capacity of an all-state agent or if I'm doing something as an insurance agent coach or if I'm writing a book. It doesn't matter. It's just as long as I monetize that time, that's what's important. I bring a check home to my family. It doesn't matter if I'm in a W-2 capacity, a 1099 capacity. I don't get caught up in that. And I discourage people from thinking that way because they feel like they're coming up in short if they're doing it. This is a process. This is a journey. And I love how you emphasize the hard work that goes into the journey.
And
Speaking of
I
the journey,
stress that.
please.
The reason why I stress that is because a lot of people think when you're your own boss, you can set your own hours, you can do what you want to do. If you're going to be truly successful and if you're going to lead people, they've got to see you. People are not going to work harder than you are for your business.
Yes,
Think
no,
about when you were on your job, were you doing more than the other people were doing? No, you were like, I'm not going to work harder than these people. So now you're the person that people are saying that about.
yeah,
You lead by example.
leaders must set a tone. So speaking of journey, we are recording this on Valentine's Day, February, Black History Month. Talk to me about what Black History Month means to you growing up in Alabama, where some of the most historical events happen, where our very own Dr. King is from. Talk to me a little bit about what Black History Month means to you.
So I'm actually from Montgomery, Alabama. That's where I was born and raised. And it was so funny that when I was growing up, we would ride the bus, the City Line bus, and we would sit in the back of the bus and we would joke about the people like, why are y'all sitting in the back of us? I said, Miss Parks, and I said, Miss Parks' fault, so we can sit where we want to sit. We're young kids on the bus and everything. And so we would walk the history like this, Capitol steps. We would be there, Dexter Avenue, church. I've shot videos there because I used to be in mass media. So I've done stories. I did stories on people who were part of history. And it was kind of like you know how you almost take something for granted because
Yes.
it's just a part of you, like these historical things that you're traveling down to come and see. I walked it every day. But what I would say is that every day was really Black history for me because being the only Black student in a class of all white people, I would come in. I came in after integration, so there was integration and then there was the group that came in after integration. So it
Okay.
wasn't no picket signs and boycotting for us to come. We were just there. And a lot of times they would ignore you and they would treat you as if you were not really there. So I learned to speak up at a very early age, second, third grade. I could speak up for myself and for others. When I remember being in middle school, I would lead programs to put programs together. And I would spearhead these programs, much like I do now. I'd spearhead programs.
The whole conversation, I'm loving it because how you grew up is who you are. You've always had to be strong, first, only, and different. But go ahead.
And so I would put together programs. I would tell them that we need to have this program about Black history. I would read announcements over the intercom on this day in Black history. I would I went to majority white schools from up till about 10th grade. And so my junior and senior year, I transferred to an all black school, George Washington Carver High School. So I walk into the school my junior year. And so Black History Month comes up the first. So I'm asking them, I said, hey, so what are we doing for Black History Month? And they was like, oh, well, we really don't have anything planned. What do you mean? I said, you mean to tell me we're at George Washington Carver High School, a
Nothing.
black school, and we're not doing anything? And so they said,
Nothing.
well, what do you suggest we do? So I came up with so at the end of the month, they had scheduled this African tribe group was going to come and perform for us. So I set up us having a poster contest. We had some other contests, dress days, tacky days, all these days and stuff. And I created this whole program for it, and it culminated with that program. And it was so crazy that I was spearheading this, and everybody was following along. I'm a junior in high school, you know? And so that's what I did. Black History Month has always been important for me. When I got on the radio, I did vignettes where I would do Black History Month, this day in Black history. And, and I would, and I also worked with some, I was on a station with, did a show that was syndicated in Syracuse, New York. It was called the Beaner and Ken Show. And it was owned in Birmingham and Syracuse, New York. And I did that for a few years. And I played a character during Black History Month called Miss Selma. And Miss Selma would reimagine all of these Black history moments. So like before Rosa Parks got on the bus, her and Miss Selma were out the night before. And Miss Selma was supposed to be on the bus with them, but she didn't overslept, but Rosa went on without her, you know, or at the Selma March, she was supposed to be up front, but then her shoes started hurting and she sat down, you know, just crazy stuff. But it was my way of bringing Black history to that audience of people, because it was a white radio morning show. My two co-hosts were white, but that was my way of bringing Black history to there. So wherever I am, I try to bring Black history into the mix. I was the chair of the Minority Business Council in town, so I use that platform to push the narrative for Black History Month. So I live it every day. What McDonald said, 360.
Yes, no, I love it. And I think the onus is on us to initiate some of the conversation. So I love having this conversation with you about all of this. And I look forward to our peers hearing it. And I look forward to the feedback, because the conversation that we have to have. So
Absolutely.
You're born in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm born in 1963, the year of the I Have a Dream speech. And I've always thought that my whole life purpose is that Dr. King had a dream, but the purpose of me and my generation was to live the dream out, because most of the hard work, the heavy lifting had been done by many to open up certain doors. And now we have to live the dream and manifest what he said. So what did the Dr. King speech mean to you, and how have you carried that in your life?
So for me, when you're here living in the South, there are things that you become accustomed to that you no longer see as, like, when things happen, sometimes you say, why was that person there? What did they do? Why did that happen to them? They shouldn't have been there, you know, because we were taught there's a certain part of town you shouldn't be in. Well, you shouldn't be over there after 5. Well, they were over there after 5. That's why that happened.
Right.
You know, even now I practice things with my husband and my son, making sure our tags are correct, our ID is up to date. We always have what we're supposed to have. So there's no reason for you to have contact so things don't happen. And so I think about that sometimes as being someone from the South. Is that a good mindset? And I'm very radical and I speak up. I'm not afraid to speak up at all. But I am also very cautious at times, because a lot has changed and a lot hasn't changed. And so you have to be aware because a lot of it's economic now.
Yes.
It's about class. It is about the haves and the have-nots. You can deem it as racism, but sometimes it's who has money, who doesn't have money. And you have to be careful. So I always take time to pull back the layers, look at it from all sides to make sure is what's happening to me because I'm a woman, because I'm a woman of color, is because of my economic status. I try to give you all the benefits of the doubt before I make a move. And then I tell myself, okay, that's the play. That's why they're doing that to me. What can I do to overcome that?
Yes.
Okay. What can I do to overcome that? What can I do on my side to make sure that I have what I'm supposed to have? Because you can't wait for people to give it to you. Just like I said, you're a small business owner. Well, you can't wait for, well, I didn't get that because of what. I make sure I have what I'm supposed to have. I make sure I'm in the position I'm supposed to be in. So when I ask for something, then the answer should be yes. There's no other choice but the answer to be yes, because I've crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, and I made the preparation to be where I'm supposed to be. Now, other people may feel differently about it, but that's just how I've had to handle it because I'm a 50-plus-year-old woman in the South.
I love it. I love your answer. You position yourself to make an offer so you can't be refused. Not they can't refuse it, but you can't be refused. I love your mindset. I love your journey. I love this podcast conversation. So, Michele, as I said off camera, this is called the Wind Down with Kev podcast. This is where I wind down and relax, get away from the workday, get away from the shirt and tie and all of those types of things. But this year I've added the tag to it. It's called the Dream Chaser podcast. And I love to encourage people that are chasing a dream. So, two-part question. What's the next dream that you're chasing first? Because you're a go-getter.
So it's so funny. I'm listening to a book now that's called Relentless. And it was so funny. I always talk about good and I talk about great. And I was like, gotta be great. And he blew my mind with the statement that the next level is unstoppable.
Yes.
I said,
Tim
what?
Grover.
I said, what? Unstoppable. And he was defining what unstoppable. I said, okay, I think that's where I am now. I think I'm in the unstoppable state. And so what I mean by that, my next dream, because I'm never satisfied with where I am. So the next 3 things that I have on deck for me, or say 4 things. One, I would like to purchase another book of business so I can grow my business. That's with Allstate. The next thing, I would like to build a building to house my Allstate agency along with 2 other businesses. I'd like to own another franchise of some type of food business. And then I'd like to also have a side where, because I have a business where I rent out suite spaces for people in the health and beauty industry. So I'd like to build another one of those. So that's a dream right there. And then I also have a dream of a speaking career where I'd like to launch, where I'm being asked to go and speak across the country. And I do at least 2 to 3 gigs a month that I'm on the road speaking. So that's a real goal that I have that I'm trying to do. And then I also want to launch a training platform that's not necessarily day-to-day training, but live in-person training where I come and train on sales. And it could be whatever industry. I also, want to have some of that hands-on stuff like that. So those are the 4 things that I have on tap that we plan to accomplish in the next 4 to 5 years.
I love it. And I know you're serious because you spit it out. So for the audience, you said the book Relentless. I want to give reference to the author, Tim Grover. We didn't talk about this, but I just finished listening to both of his books. For those of you that don't recognize the name Tim Grover, he is the person that trained most famously Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and numerous other people outside the world of sports. And both of his books are phenomenal. I encourage you to read it. You said 4 things, but I heard about 7. So I don't know if you're a fan of Patrick Bet-David, but if you haven't done it, if you haven't read it or listened to it yet, his book, Your Next 5 Moves, is another one that will
yes, I've heard that. Yes, I have.
Yeah, that will really set up and frame your thinking. But I love everything you're working on. I know it's going to happen because you're a go-getter. You did all this. You're going to do the rest. But what would you say to my audience of dream chasers that's out there, that's working on whatever they're working on? What can you please leave us with a word of encouragement for all the other dream chasers that are out there, whatever aspect of their American dream that they're chasing? What would you say to someone that's chasing a dream, but maybe they're going through a struggle right now?
I would say to you that anything you want to do, you are doing. And let that sink in. Anything you want to do, you are doing.
Ooh.
And anything that you're not doing, you're just thinking about it. And so sometimes you have to distinguish yourself between that. You have to distinguish between that. So when you're chasing a dream and you keep talking about, well, why you haven't started, why you hadn't got, you're making all these excuses. And I'm a firm believer that excuses only satisfy the person that is giving them. It is making you feel good because, oh, I can't do it because of this, because of that, because of this. But anything you want to do, you are doing it.
I have nothing to add to that. I have nothing to take away from it. Ladies and gentlemen, Michele Coley. One other thing. On Facebook, you are your name. Tell people where they can follow you at. I want them to get this wisdom because that's powerful.
So on Facebook, it's Michele Coley. On TikTok, that's my new platform I'm on. It's the original Michelle Miller. That's a whole nother story. When I was on radio, that's why I chose that name. And then on Instagram, it's Michele Coley. It's simple as that. I try to keep it simple so you can find me. But I love to chat. I'm looking at getting into being a life coach because I love to give advice. I was talking to some therapists and they were like, "No, ma'am, you are not a therapist. You are a life coach." Therapists listen. Therapists listen. You tell people what to do.
Yes, I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Michele Coley, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, hit that notification button, but don't just follow at Wind Down with Kev. Follow Michele Coley. Certainly great things are coming from her already, and even greater things are coming from her in the future.